Good morning, Team Miami Lakes. Here we are one more time, as always, doing our weekly classes every Wednesday, 10 to 12. We do the live stream of our classes. We have agents here at the office. We have agents connected. And afterwards, we're going to be posting it on our new Canvas Real Estate Miami Lakes YouTube channel. So you could always go back to the recordings. And today I have the pleasure of welcoming Alex Pinacho from Vista Prime Loans one more time. And it's a super exciting week, right, Alex?
Yep.
Do you know what's going on this week?
Yeah, this Saturday, we have the new home buyer seminar right here in Miami Lakes, and it's going to be from 9:30 to 12 o'clock. And we're going to have a lot of great partners here talking about the new home buyer process.
Mm-hmm.
So if you or your borrowers or buyers are looking to get more information, please have them come and we'll get the information shared to them.
By all means. And we have these beautiful postcards that have been printed that can be mailed. You could put your business card in the corner, inviting them, because this is not a one-time thing. This is for the whole year. We're hosting the first one on April 15th, June 11th, September 17th, and November 12th from 9:30 to 12. So we as realtors are going to be here speaking to the buyers that come our way. Vista Prime Loans, as the mortgage partner, is going to talk about all the different programs available to first-time buyers these days. Title Logic will be here talking about the title process and what's the right way to get title on a property. Okay, whether you do it on a personal level, corporation, so on and so forth. Even though for first-time buyers, I think it has to be the individual.
Correct.
Okay, great. And we're also going to have UCES, United Credit Education Services, coming in and talking about restoring your credit, improving your FICO score. Maybe that's what's kept your buyers not purchasing up to now. But most definitely, we want to prepare those buyers. This is the moment to buy. I heard FHA interest rates went down last week a little bit, right?
A little bit, yep. FHA rates went down. Conventional rates also came down a little bit. So it's a great time to kind of keep looking at the market and just make sure to move forward.
Definitely.
So,
and we're going to be calling out to some of you today. We need your help in promoting this first-time buyer seminar, both online. We're putting an ad to boost it as well, Thursday and Friday in all of Miami Lakes and Hialeah submarkets. But at the same time, I'm going to give you a suggestion. Ernesto Vega, our broker, mentioned that that there's a lot of home health services companies right here in Miami Lakes. There's about 20 of them, and each of them have over 100 nurses that subscribe to home health services. So we'd like to get everybody's help in the office to pass out some of these postcards at the offices of the home health services and try to get some of those nurses to come in because they qualify for
Hometown Heroes.
Definitely. Okay. Yep. So without further ado, I'm going to leave you with Alex Pinacho, which I'm super duper excited about, to know about all the different programs that are available now and maybe down payment assistance programs. I don't know. We'll leave it to Alex. And please, if you have questions, raise your hand and he'll be attentive to the chat. And we're going to start this class in Spanish. En español, but of course, if we get English speakers, we'll go ahead and switch over. I don't like the Spanglish, but sometimes we have to do that a little bit, right, Alex?
This is Miami.
This is Miami. I know. Like my son says, Mom, you live the closest to the U.S. that I know of.
Exactly.
Okay.
So we'll start it off in Spanish. If you guys need clarification in English on something, we will. And if we get somebody else join, we'll switch to English, but we'll go ahead and proceed in Spanish for now.
Okay. Thank you, Alex.
All righty. Well, first of all, thank you. Gracias a todos por estar aquí presente hoy. De nuevo, como estamos grabando en español, mi nombre es Alex Pinacho. Soy un oficial de préstamos con Vista Prime Loans. So, aquí en la primera pantalla van a ver mi información de contacto y también el QR code que lo pueden escanear y ahí pueden bajar mi información de contacto directamente a sus teléfonos. Esto es algo que lo pongo más que nada porque creo que es un it's a great tool para que ustedes también empiecen a mirar y usar eso. Si no tienen un QR code, esto es no es un advertisement aquí, pero sí hay compañías como Monkey QR y compañías así que le ofrecen free QR codes y pueden crear su propio QR code, ¿ok? Solamente para que lo sepan. Esta información también va a estar en la última pantalla. Si no la pueden captar ahora, la pueden captar ahorita. ¿Ok? La clase hoy va a ser como que una preparación para first time home buyers. La presentación sí es en inglés, pero yo voy a trasladar toda la información. Esto va a ser similar a la presentación que voy a hacer el sábado. De nuevo el sábado 15, de 9:30 a 12. Voy a estar como 15, 20 minutos el sábado, entonces va a ser mucho más condensada la presentación del sábado, pero esta es la información en un poquito más detalle para ustedes hoy en día. Acuérdense siempre que lo principal que yo siempre le digo a todos es que nosotros estamos aquí para educar, estamos aquí para crear relaciones. Si en algún momento ustedes tienen un cliente que le dice no tengo el ingreso, no tengo el crédito, no tengo el down payment, no tengo, ese es el momento para nosotros poder educar a esos clientes. Sea yo educándolo en los financials, en el crédito, en el ingreso, en el down payment, ustedes educándolo en el mercado, qué posibilidades hay, qué existe. Eso siempre es una oportunidad. Y la idea de esta clase de hoy, de First Time Home Buyers, es para enseñarle a esos compradores que piensan que no pueden comprar por todos estos variables, enseñarle en qué momento ellos van a poder comprar y cómo prepararlos para ese momento. Ese momento puede ser mañana, puede ser en 3 meses, puede ser en un año, puede ser en 3 años. Pero como también otra cosa que siempre digo es que el negocio de nosotros es relaciones. Nosotros creamos pipelines y tenemos un database de clientes que puede ser que le estamos buscando una casa mañana, puede ser que le estemos buscando una casa en 2 años o en 5 años. O puede ser que compren una casa hoy y después de aquí a 3 años necesiten otra casa. Siempre recuerden la relación. ¿Okay? Aquí arriba pongo what can you afford. El monto que uno califica es determinado por su ingreso, por la deuda que ellos tienen, el down payment que tienen disponible, el credit score que tengan y la localización. Localización es algo que muchas personas no piensan, pero es importante porque si uno está comprando una casa, por ejemplo, en Coral Gables, By the Falls, diferentes áreas, los property taxes son mucho más altos. ¿Ok? Y hay otras áreas que tienen los property taxes más bajos. Igual el seguro de propiedad. Seguro de propiedad, de la 95 automáticamente requiere flood insurance. ¿Ok? Típicamente también la zona donde uno vive va a determinar el impacto que puede tener un huracán. Si está más cerca al agua, el impacto va a ser mayor. Si está más para adentro, Weston, Pembroke Pines, eso va a tener un poquito menos impacto. Todo eso es importante pensarlo cuando un cliente está haciendo la calificación. Y eso es parte de lo que yo tomo en consideración cuando estoy hablando con un comprador que quiera preaprobarse. Okay. Let's go to the next slide, because todo esto va a ser cubierto. El crédito. Voy a empezar con el crédito porque es el principal que las personas me dicen, el crédito no lo tengo bueno o no quiero correr mi crédito ahora para empezar a mirar el proceso de preaprobación. El crédito es uno de los pasos más importantes en este proceso, pero también es uno de los más fácil corregir. ¿Ok? Muchas personas piensan, bueno, con este crédito no voy a poder comprar y a lo mejor tienen un charge-off en su crédito, tienen una colección en su crédito. Eso se puede arreglar bastante fácil y puede hacer un boost al crédito bastante rápido. ¿Ok? Pero hay ciertas cosas que sí se demoran tiempo para arreglar. So, pagos tardes, un ejemplo en el crédito, se demora tiempo. Eso no hay nada más que se pueda hacer, a no ser que fue un error de la compañía que hizo el late payment. Okay. So, hay ciertas cosas que se demoran tiempo. Si tienen los balances muy altos en una cuenta y necesitas reducir ese balance, puede ser que te vaya a tomar tiempo porque a lo mejor no tienes el dinero hoy para reducir ese balance. So, eso puede ser que se demore tiempo. Okay. Pero es importante mantener siempre ojo en el crédito, mirar si tienen algunas cuentas delincuentes, si tienen algunos errores en el reporte de crédito, asegurarse que estén pagando todas sus cuentas a tiempo y que estén manteniendo los balances de la tarjeta de crédito bajitos. Okay. El número ideal es 30%. 30% de del límite de su tarjeta de crédito no se debe exceder. So, si tienen un límite de $10,000, no deben de usar esa tarjeta más de $3,000. Ese es el número como que magic number. ¿Ok? Pero como les digo, el crédito, si estoy hablando con un cliente, un comprador que va a estar listo en 6 meses o en un año, de todas maneras le va a ayudar que yo le verifique el crédito porque hay cosas que yo le puedo revisar, que les puedo avisar desde antemano que pueden hacer. Si no, hay compañías que tenemos como la que mencionó Marlene que pueden ayudar a los clientes a arreglar su crédito si de verdad que lo tienen muy, muy malo. Y hay un website que es www.annualcreditreport.com, donde el cliente puede entrar y verificar su reporte de crédito una vez al año gratuitamente y puede accesar a los 3 buros de crédito. ¿Okay? Eso no les da un puntuaje de crédito, solamente le da la información que aparece en su crédito. Pero es bueno en caso que tengan alguna fraude de identidad o si tienen una cuenta que no se está reportando correctamente, que ellos lo puedan verificar. ¿Okay? Next slide. Down payment. Nunca es muy temprano para empezar a ahorrar. Hay personas que en vez de ahorrar dinero para sus niños para college, empiezan a ahorrar dinero para sus niños para un down payment. ¿Okay? Mientras más dinero uno tenga para poner, siempre es más fuerte el comprador. ¿Okay? Porque puede poner un down payment más grande, puede cubrir los gastos de cierre, puede reducir su pago mensual. Hay muchos beneficios de tener un down payment más grande. Inclusive también les reduce el interés en muchos casos. ¿Ok? Igual con el crédito. No mencioné esto antes, pero el crédito, el puntuaje de crédito es directamente lo que maneja el interés que el cliente va a pagar. Mientras más alto sea el crédito, mejor va a ser el interés. Pero mientras más bajo sea el crédito, peor va a ser el interés. Y en muchos casos es una diferencia significativa, especialmente cuando se consideran préstamos de 30 años. El down payment generalmente se necesita entre 3 a 5% y los gastos de cierre generalmente se necesitan entre 2 a 5%. Aquí, especialmente en el sur de la Florida, cuando hablamos de gastos de cierre, tenemos que pensar también en los prepaids. Generalmente lo que estamos viendo últimamente es 4 a 5% de gastos de cierre, porque los seguros, los seguros, los prepaid son prepagos. Cuando hace un cierre, tienes el seguro, un ejemplo, lo tienes que pagar con un año de anticipación. Los intereses se pagan antes del cierre, se pagan dependiendo del día del cierre. Si uno cierra el 15 del mes, va a pagar 16 días de interés, más o menos. Eso es un prepago. Entonces, algo para considerar que sí, los gastos de cierre hoy en día están corriendo 4 o 5% en el sur de la Florida. Voy a poner una pausa aquí para avisarle y recordarle a lo que ya sabían, que yo estoy licenciado en la Florida, en Georgia y en North Carolina. Por eso soy específico, porque yo puedo hacer una transacción igual que ustedes en cualquier parte de la Florida. El mercado fuera del sur de la Florida es diferente en lo que son impuestos y seguros. Ahí, por supuesto, que los gastos de cierre pueden ser mucho menos. ¿Ok? Y hay programas de Down Payment Assistance. El más favorito mío es el Hometown Heroes. I'm going to switch to English and do English-Spanish now. Okay? Because we do have an English-speaking person in the room and I don't want to be rude. So we have down payment assistance programs as well to assist. Tenemos programas de down payment assistance para asistir a los clientes, a los compradores que a lo mejor le falta un poquito de dinero. Okay. Yo voy a entrar en más detalle en eso en un ratico. I'm going to go into more detail on the down payment stuff. These are the options when a buyer is looking to work with a loan officer. They have a wholesale side and a retail side. The wholesale side is people like me, loan officers and brokers that work with many different companies to provide the best particular product and service for that client at the moment. Retail is where we used to be when we were with CMG. Okay, so retail is a lender that you can only work with that particular lender. They only have the loans and options that they have, interest rate that they have, and services that they have. There are times when we can offer brokered products, but generally speaking, it was just conventional FHA, VA loans, went directly based on them. So el canal de wholesale y el canal de retail, wholesale es lo que estamos haciendo ahora, que somos los oficiales que tenemos acceso a varios diferentes compañías que hacen préstamos y nosotros determinamos cuál es el mejor lender o inversionista que le podemos pasar el préstamo en base de el tiempo que les toma cerrar, los intereses y los gastos. Retail es lo que éramos antes cuando estábamos en CMG, que solamente teníamos acceso a los programas que estaban presentado por CMG. Cuando trabajan con un banco como Bank of America, Chase, eso también es considerado retail. ¿Okay? La diferencia más grande en lo que es retail y wholesale, en lo que viene a ser los guidelines, es que cuando hablas con un banco retail, ellos no necesariamente siguen los guidelines de Fannie Mae y de FHA directamente, porque ellos están usando esos guidelines, pero los están poniendo más fuerte. Al contrario, los canales wholesale típicamente van directamente en base de los guidelines de Fannie Mae y Freddie Mac y de FHA. So, si nosotros recibimos aprobación indicando que sí el cliente va a calificar en base de esto, estamos bien. En retail no es tan fácil. Okay? So, in retail, with underwriting guidelines, with the retail side is when you have the most strict guidelines. They don't necessarily directly follow Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac and FHA guidelines. They usually have stricter guidelines than the ones provided by Fannie, Freddie, and FHA. Whereas on the wholesale side, if we have an approved eligible from Fannie, from Freddie, or from FHA, we typically don't have overlays, is what they're called, or stricter guidelines than what Fannie, Freddie, and FHA require. So a lot of times you're going to have a buyer that says, well, I want to go to Bank of America or Chase or XYZ Bank because maybe their rate is a little bit better. But at the end of the day, they may not qualify because they're at the top end of the debt to income ratios, or they're at the lower end of the credit guidelines. Okay, that's a big difference.
Good morning.
Hi, good morning.
Hello.
Good morning. Is there a question? I'm not sure if we have a question on Zoom.
Okay.
Okay, so we're working with a loan officer. The loan officer, which is me, my job is to qualify the borrower, calculate what they can afford, make sure that we collect the proper documents, and make sure that we provide the proper documents. And our job is to recommend the correct product and service. So, trabajando con un oficial de préstamo, el trabajo mío es calcular lo que el cliente puede calificar mensualmente, asegurarme que ellos me manden los documentos apropiados y que nosotros también le mandemos a ellos los documentos que necesiten para la transacción y recomendar los productos y servicios en base de su necesidad. Okay. So, ahora este es el proceso antes de comprar. So, before you shop, what's the process? El proceso principal, como ustedes saben, es obtener una preaprobación. So the first step, as you guys know, is to obtain a pre-approval. Why do you want a pre-approval? A pre-approval tells the seller that your buyer has already been processed with a loan officer. They have run their credit, they have verified their income, and they have verified their assets. Meaning this transaction is going to be a lot easier and the seller should not have to worry about the transaction being canceled. ¿Por qué necesitan una preaprobación? Porque la preaprobación le indica al vendedor que ya el comprador ha sido verificado, el oficial de préstamo le ha verificado el ingreso, el crédito y el dinero disponible para la entrada y los gastos de cierres. Eso le asegura al vendedor de hasta cierto límite que esta transacción va a ir un poquito más fácil y que tiene una alta probabilidad de cerrar. The difference between a pre-approval and a pre-qualification. A pre-approval means that I have verified, physically verified their income, their assets, and their credits. I have looked at their bank statements. I have looked at their pay stubs, their tax returns, their W-2s, and I have run the numbers based on all of that. La diferencia entre una preaprobación y una precalificación es que en una preaprobación yo estoy revisando el ingreso, el crédito y los fondos disponibles para el cierre. Estoy verificando, ya corrí el crédito, verifiqué que el crédito está bueno y verifiqué las deudas que aparecen en el crédito. Verifiqué las colillas de pagos, los W2 y los retornos de los impuestos y verifiqué las cuentas bancarias para asegurarme que haya suficiente dinero para el cierre. En una precalificación no hay nada específico que yo tengo que verificar. So, si el cliente me llama y me dice, Alex, yo gano $120,000 al año, tengo un crédito de 740 y no tengo deuda, yo les puedo dar una precalificación porque simplemente estoy tomando notas, calculando números y diciendo en base de eso cuánto califica. So with a pre-qualification, I'm not verifying any specific documentation. If the borrower calls me and says, I make 120 grand a year, I have a 740 credit score, and I have $100,000 in the bank, I can give them a pre-qualification based on that because I'm just qualifying them based on their numbers. The exception is if you receive a pre-qualification letter with a DU. Okay, typically that means that they've run a full pre-approval because you cannot get a DU without running credit. Okay, la excepción es si reciben una carta que indica que es una precalificación, pero con un DU. Eso quiere decir que ya le corrimos el crédito porque no hay manera de hacer un DU sin correr el crédito. Okay. La próxima la próxima página le voy a presentar. Si quieren tomarle una foto a esto, if you want to take a picture of this is what we ask for, generally speaking, when we're qualifying a buyer for FHA conventional VA guidelines. Eso es típicamente lo que le pedimos a un cliente, un comprador, que esté calificando por un préstamo convencional, un préstamo tradicional de FHA, VA y lo demás. So, pedimos las colillas de pago del último mes, los W2 del último año o 2 años, dependiendo del programa, las copias de los impuestos federales, las copias de los estados de cuenta bancario, y si tienen su propio negocio, le pedimos los retornos del negocio y un profit and loss statement. So if we have a traditional buyer, 30 days of pay stubs, W-2 forms for the last year or 2 years, depending on the program, tax returns, bank statements, 2 months of bank statements, 2 meses de estado de cuentas bancarios, and the business tax returns if they're self-employed with a profit and loss statement. All right, I'm moving on to the next slide if you want to take a picture. All right, earnest money deposit, el depósito de una transacción. Earnest money deposit es el depósito que ustedes ya saben esto. Esto lo voy a cubrir el sábado para los compradores. Pero es el depósito que se pone al principio de una transacción con el contrato. Muchos compradores y realtors todavía me piden cuándo se impacta el depósito. Entonces es bien importante, quiero tomar cuenta de esto. A lot of the earnest money deposit is what we provide at the beginning of a contract. And a lot of people, realtors and buyers, still ask me, when is my money at risk? Okay. So the real estate contract has two pieces to it that generally drive the at-risk portion. The first piece, as you all know, is the inspection period. The buyer can back out of the inspection period at any point in time and receive their escrow money without any documentation. So el depósito tiene, el contrato de bienes raíces en la Florida tiene dos puntos donde el dinero el depósito se pone duro, vamos a decir, o que el cliente, el comprador todavía puede salirse. El primero, como ustedes lo saben, es el periodo de inspección. El periodo de inspección, el comprador puede salirse sin tener ninguna razón, puede salirse durante ese periodo y recibir su dinero. El segundo periodo, the second period, is the financing contingency period. When you are doing a transaction that involves financing, you always want to make sure to have the financing period box checked off in the contract. And that financing period does include a period for appraisal. Okay. So if there is financing, we need to make sure to have the appraisal back as part of the financing contingency to make sure that the underwriter will approve it based on the appraised value. Okay. So if the appraisal comes back low, in most cases, the buyer should be able to back out if the bank cannot approve the client with the appraised value. Okay. La segunda parte del contrato de la contingencia es cuando se está haciendo financiamiento, es el periodo de financiamiento. Hay una cajita que se tiene que marcar en el contrato que indica que están pendientes de financiamiento y que van a pedir 15, 20 o 30 días, 45 días, lo que vayan a pedir para financiamiento. Ese periodo incluye el evalúo cuando se está haciendo financiamiento, ¿ok? Y en esa porción, en la mayoría de los casos, el comprador puede salirse de la transacción si el evalúo no viene con el valor correcto. No en todos los casos, eso es algo que tenemos que ver porque depende del cliente si puede calificar de todas maneras, ¿ok? El dinero, si llegamos al cierre, el depósito se aplica contra el down payment y los gastos de cierre. So the funds are applied, the earnest money deposit is applied at closing to the down payment and closing costs. Okay. If anybody on Zoom has a question, si alguien en Zoom tiene una pregunta, please unmute yourselves and interrupt me because I cannot see the Zoom screen right now. Si alguien tiene pregunta, por favor, quítese de mute y me interrumpen porque no puedo ver la pantalla de Zoom en este momento, ¿ok? El periodo de inspección, no voy a cubrirlo mucho en detalle porque ustedes ya lo conocen, pero este es uno de los pagos que hace el cliente, el comprador elige su inspector y paga por esa inspección. Nosotros como financieros no necesitamos esa inspección. Esa inspección es para proteger a su comprador y para propósitos de seguro. So, se necesita ordenar, pero yo no necesito una copia. The inspection, I won't cover much on this, but the inspection is to protect your buyers and for insurance purposes. The buyers, if they're getting financing, will need an inspection in most cases because the insurance agent will require it, but I do not need a copy of it. That is not something that you need to provide to me. Okay. The loan application, la aplicación de préstamo. La aplicación de préstamo, I'll start in English and switch to Spanish. The loan application is what the borrower completes. Sorry, what the buyer completes, okay? They're going to provide me all of their information on this application. Their employment information, their income, their assets. Are they married? Are they separated? Do they have children? Do they have dependents? If they have dependents, what are their ages? Where have they lived in the last 2 years? Where have they worked in the last 2 years? All of this information is on here. They're basically giving me their life story. Okay, la aplicación de hipoteca es donde el comprador va a completar y darme toda su información, sus nombres legales, sus estatus de matrimonio, sus dónde han vivido en los últimos 2 años, dónde han trabajado en los últimos 2 años, si tienen dependiente, toda su información me lo van a proveer aquí. This is the form that is going to guide my initial review process. With this form, I'll be able to determine where to start. Are we going with a conventional loan? Are we going with an FHA loan, VA loan maybe? Are we going with a non-QM loan, which I'm not going to touch upon today? All the different options, okay? Con esta forma es donde yo empiezo a verificar qué programa le vamos a ofrecer o qué programas debemos empezar a mirar para este cliente. Si va a ser FHA, VA, USDA, convencional, lo demás. Okay. This is a nice little picture that kind of gives the buyer an understanding of what the loan amount versus the down payment does. So on the left side, you see obviously the house and the home value. On the right side, you see the green area on top is the loan amount, and the orange area is the equity. The equity portion is the portion that would be considered their down payment. So if you have a buyer buying a $500,000 home, putting $100,000 down and getting a loan amount of $400,000, their equity is $100,000. That's what they've put into the property. Esto, perdón, I'm going to go back. Esto es una ilustración, gracias, ilustración para explicarle al cliente cuál es la porción del monto de préstamo de su casa y cuál es el equity que ellos tienen o el capital que ellos tienen en su propiedad. ¿Okay? So a la mano izquierda ven que el valor de la casa es la totalidad, pero a la mano derecha ven la parte de arriba siendo el préstamo y la parte de abajo siendo el equity. El equity es la porción básicamente que ellos ponen de entrada, de down payment en su casa. So, si tienen un comprador que compra una casa de $500,000 y pone el 20% o $100,000 de entrada, esos $100,000 es el equivalente de su equity. Y los $400,000 de diferencia sería el monto de préstamo. Ok. Estos son los 3 programas más comunes que nosotros vemos. Conventional, FHA, VA. These are the 3 most common programs that we see. Okay. Many people think that FHA stands for first-time home buyers. That is not what FHA stands for. FHA is the Federal Housing Administration or Authority. Muchas personas piensan que FHA es el programa para compradores principales. Eso no es correcto. FHA es el nombre gobernal de la entidad que se llama Federal Housing Administration. ¿Okay? VA es los préstamos para los veteranos y convencional son todos los préstamos que sean Fannie Mae o Freddie Mac. So VA are loans for veterans and conventional loans are any loans that fall under Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac guidelines. Okay? I'm going to start from the top down. Conventional loans, los préstamos convencionales. Generally speaking, conventional loans require a 5% down minimum. Generally speaking. However, based on income, we can go as low as 3% down on a conventional loan. Un préstamo convencional típicamente requiere un mínimo de 5% de entrada. Pero en algunos casos, dependiendo del comprador y el ingreso, puede ser tan poco como 3% de entrada. ¿Ok? No 3.5, eso es FHA, 3%. ¿Ok? Ese programa de 3% es para los compradores de niveles de ingreso bajitos, menos de 80% del Area Median Income, o sea, del averaje de ingreso en el lugar que estén comprando. So the 3% down on conventional loans is based on any low-income buyer that their income does not exceed 80% of the AMI, so the area median income. Realistically speaking, that is not a very that is not a program that we use a lot in South Florida, unless the person literally has zero debt. Because if you're making less than 80% of the AMI, you probably can only buy like a condo or something, and condos are much harder to acquire. So, realísticamente, el programa de 3% de entrada convencional es mucho más difícil utilizar en el sur de la Florida, porque la mayoría de personas que van a calificar para una casa ganan más del 80% del area median income. A no ser que no tengan deuda o que estén comprando un condominio, y como ustedes saben, el condominio es más difícil de financiar. Okay. FHA, 3.5% down. Oh, sorry, conventional. One more thing on conventional. Conventional loans have a much higher limit. So in Miami-Dade County, the conventional loan limit is today $726,200. So, el límite convencional del préstamo, no de la compra, del préstamo, en el condado de Miami-Dade y Broward es $726,200. Okay. And estoy buscando algo en mi teléfono porque le quiero dar el número correcto en el préstamo de FHA. Give me a second because I'm just Googling. Okay. En el préstamo FHA, el límite es $557,750. I'm going to say it in English. On a FHA loan, the limit is $557,750. These limits change. Yep, $557,750. These limits change every single year. They increase with inflation. That's the loan. That's the loan limit. Yeah, so the loan cannot surpass those two respective amounts. And I will clarify that this is on single family residences. So that's single family, townhouse, or condominium, 1 unit residences. Estos son los límites en una casa de una unidad, sea casa, townhouse o un condominio, pero de una unidad solamente. Los límites de duplexes, triplexes y fourplexes son más altos. So the limits on duplexes, triplexes, and quads are higher. Okay, so this is just single family purchase. Okay, FHA. FHA requires a minimum of 3.5% down. FHA requiere un mínimo de 3.5% de entrada. FHA typically has much lower interest rates. FHA típicamente tiene intereses más bajos. FHA in the recent years has allowed a much higher debt to income ratio. DTI. FHA en los últimos años ha permitido un límite de deuda contra ingreso más alto. Okay, so this is why most people think FHA is the right program. And in many cases, for the borrowers that are tight on their money, on their credit, on their down payment, FHA is better. Estas son las razones que muchas personas piensan que FHA es mejor. Y en muchos de los casos, el préstamo FHA es mejor para las personas que necesitan un préstamo con una entrada menor o un crédito reducido. Okay. FHA is backed by the government. Conventional is loans that are acquired by Fannie and Freddie Mac. Okay. VA is also a government-backed loan. FHA y préstamos de VA son préstamos que son garantizados por el gobierno, y los préstamos convencionales son préstamos que son adquiridos por Fannie Mae o Freddie Mac directamente. Okay. I want to spend a little bit more time on this slide because this is, I think this is one of the most important slides that we're going to see, even though it doesn't contain information, but I'm giving you guys the information. Quiero repasar un poquito más en estos préstamos porque hay mucha información y esta es la parte más importante, creo, para los clientes. There's always going to be an option for borrowers. When we look at down payment assistance programs, the down payment assistance programs are always tied to one of these types of loans, okay? So you could have a down payment assistance program with a conventional option, with an FHA option, with a VA option, okay? Los programas que se mencionan de down payment assistance, asistencia de entrada, se combinan con estos programas convencionales o de FHA o VA. Trabajan en combinación con estos programas. No es que sea un programa diferente. Típicamente un programa de asistencia se puede ver en varias formas. Se puede ver en forma de un bond o de un grant. Y la diferencia es que un bond es algo que se va a repagar en algún momento, sea en 30 años, sea periódicamente durante los 30 años, o sea cuando si pasa una de ciertas cosas. Un grant, al contrario, típicamente es algo que se perdona. So down payment assistance programs, you see bond programs and you see grants. Grants are typically the ones that are forgivable based on certain actions. Bonds typically have a repayment. So the bond could be a repayment, whether it's throughout the 30-year amortization, or it could be at the end of the 30 years, or it could be upon the completion of an action, such as selling the house, not using it as your primary home, or refinancing it. So el bond puede ser que se tenga que pagar si se vende la casa, si ya no la consideran casa principal, o si la refinancian. Okay? With the down payment assistance programs, the biggest one right now, the best one right now, and the one that I consider to be the strongest one right now is Hometown Heroes. You guys have heard me talk about this program before. I feel very strongly about this program because I've seen so many down payment assistance programs. Most down payment assistance programs have a limit of up to $10,000, and they have fees included in that down payment assistance. So the borrower is getting $10,000, but unfortunately, because of the fees, maybe they're not getting a full $10,000. Maybe they're getting $7,000 or $8,000 or $3,000 in some cases. Okay. Los programas de down payment assistance, el mejor programa que yo pienso que hay en el momento es el de Hometown Heroes. Hay otros programas que son los bonos y eso que dan ciertos condados. En el mayor de los casos se limita a $10,000, pero esos programas tienen gastos asociados. So, es decir, que el cliente a lo mejor no está recibiendo los $10,000, a lo mejor está recibiendo 5,000 o 8,000 o 3,000, pero no, tú sabes, los gastos van a ser en base al precio de compra. So, es algo para considerar. Anytime that you have a down payment assistance program, you're going to have stricter guidelines. Okay. Generally, they follow, again, Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac guidelines. But I will tell you one specific difference, which is the debt to income. FHA allows debt to income greater than 50%. Most bond programs and grants do not allow greater than 50%. So for example, you have a Hometown Heroes buyer. Using Hometown Heroes, they may only qualify for $500,000 versus on their own, they may qualify for $550,000. Okay? Just because there's that limitation of debt to income. En los programas de asistencia de down payment, típicamente las regulaciones de esos préstamos son un poquito más estrictos. Típicamente uno de los ejemplos es que la deuda contra el ingreso no puede exceder 50% en muchos de estos programas. Al contrario, el programa FHA regular, sin down payment assistance, te permite subir más del 50%. Ok, típicamente hasta 57%, dependiendo del crédito, del down payment y lo demás. Ok. Hometown Heroes is a program that does not have any fees for the buyers. It reduces certain taxes, so certain transfer taxes and limits certain fees to the buyer at purchase. It provides a grant now up to $35,000. Nope, this is coming off the top of my head. I'm sorry, I don't have the information on the slide. So it's up to $35,000 now. And that $35,000 is 5% of the loan amount that they get, of the first loan amount. It's not based on the purchase price. It's 5% of the loan amount. So if they're getting a loan for $400,000, they are getting an assistance of $20,000. And that program is repayable upon the selling of the house, them refinancing the mortgage, or them no longer using the house as a primary home. If one of those three conditions happen, yes.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep. El programa de Hometown Heroes recientemente se incrementó el límite a $35,000 de asistencia. Es calculado en base de 5% del monto del préstamo principal. So, si hay un préstamo principal de $400,000, le van a dar $20,000. Y ese programa hay que repagarlo en base de si se vende la casa, si se refinancia el préstamo o si ya no consideran esa casa su casa principal. O sea, si se mudan. I said something else about Hometown Heroes that I didn't translate. No. No podemos exceder el límite de 50%. Ya creo que eso lo dije. The interest rate on Hometown Heroes is fixed for everybody. El interés es fijo para todas las personas. Cambia diariamente, pero el oficial de préstamo que ofrezca ese programa va a tener el mismo interés y el mismo gasto de cierre que cualquier otro oficial de préstamo. No podemos cobrar más, no podemos subir el interés, no podemos hacer nada más. Es en base de un guideline. So the loan on Hometown Heroes, the interest rate is fixed for all loan officers to offer. And it changes daily, and it's based on whatever we're told. We can't change it. We can't charge more. So everybody that offers this program has to offer the same rate. Obviously that rate can change daily. Okay. Okay, I think that's it on this topic. Oh, VA loans. If you guys are not working with VA buyers, you are doing a disservice to the people that serve our country. Okay? If you don't learn about VA loans and you don't learn about VA buyers, you are doing a disservice to those people. Si ustedes no están trabajando con veteranos y no están buscando programas, o cuando reciben una oferta, if you receive an offer and you reject it because it's VA, si reciben una oferta y la rechazan porque es VA, le están haciendo un deservicio a las personas que han servido este país, que han dado su vida por este país hasta cierto nivel. So, es un programa bien fuerte, permite 0% de entrada, se puede combinar con Hometown Heroes y generalmente los intereses son más bajos que cualquier otro préstamo también. Sí hay lo que se llama un funding fee, sí tienen que pagar algo cuando hacen el cierre, pero ese funding fee es menos de lo que típicamente se paga en un préstamo convencional o FHA. Eso es algo para considerar. VA loans require 0% down in most cases. They can be combined with Hometown Heroes. They typically have lower interest rates. And now they do have a funding fee. One important thing to know, una cosa que voy a mencionar que es bien importante. First-time home buyers does not mean a person that is buying their first-time home. First-time home buyers is somebody that has not owned their primary home for the last 3 years. Okay? Comprador de primera vez no necesariamente significa una persona que esté comprando por primera vez. Significa una persona que no ha tenido, no ha sido dueño de su casa principal por los últimos 3 años. Very important difference. Okay.
O sea que después de 3 años la puede vender. Y puede
Si
decir
no ha
que-
tenido, si no, yo tuve una casa hace 10 años, la vendí hace 5 años y los últimos 5 años yo he estado rentando. Yo soy un comprador de primera vez. Si yo tuve mi casa principal y la vendí el mes pasado, yo no soy comprador de primera vez. Tengo que esperar 3 años, tengo que básicamente rentar por los próximos 3 años.
O sea que hasta
Ok.
después de 3 años no puedo comprar nuevamente como primero.
No, pero igual puedes usar programas de FHA, 3.5%, todo lo demás. Lo que no vas a tener acceso a programas de asistencia de entrada, de down payment, nada de eso. Okay. So good question. So just because you sold your house recently doesn't mean you can't go FHA 3.5% or conventional 3%. You just are not going to have access to any down payment assistance programs. You're not going to have access to Hometown Heroes. You're not going to have access to any FHA down payment programs. You're not going to have access to any of that. You have to have not owned a home or primary home for 3 years. Okay. Excelente punto.
Aunque nada más hubiese tenido esa casa.
Si la tuviste y viviste en ella en los últimos 3 años, no vas a calificar para programas de asistencia. Todavía puedes comprar con 3.5% de entrada. Todavía puedes usar los programas de FHA de convencional, pero no vas a poder recibir ninguna asistencia para los gastos de cierre o el down payment. Okay. Interest rates. Interest rates are there's 2 typical options. There's a fixed rate and there's an adjustable rate. A fixed rate means you're getting a loan for 30 years, for 15 years, for 10 years, for 12 years, whatever the period is of time it is, but it's fixed. The most common one we have is a fixed 30-year rate. That's the 95% of the loans we do are fixed for 30 years. Adjustable rates are what we're seeing a little bit more of now. Adjustable rate mortgages mean that the first 5 years of the loan or the first 7 years or the first 3 years, depending on what the term of the loan is, you have a set interest rate for that period of time. And after that initial period expires, then the rate will adjust periodically, typically every 6 months or every year, will adjust based on the margin and based on the, I always forget this word, the index that we use. Okay. Hay 2 tipos de intereses. El interés que es fijo por un periodo de tiempo puede ser por 30 años, pero siempre va a ser fijo por el periodo de tiempo del préstamo. So, si es 30 años el préstamo, el interés es fijo por 30 años. Si es 15 años el préstamo, el interés es fijo por 15 años. Y hay un interés ajustable. Un interés ajustable en base del tipo de préstamo puede ser, si el préstamo es de 5 años y un periodo de 6 meses después, entonces quiere decir que los primeros 5 años el interés va a ser, no va a cambiar, es el interés inicial, y después de eso el interés se va a cambiar cada 6 meses, y típicamente se ve o cada 6 meses o cada año que pueda cambiar, y se ajusta en base de un margen que se le presente al principio del préstamo y un índice que se indique al principio del préstamo. ¿Ok? So, un índice muy común es el 1-year Treasury. Entonces, puede ser que digan que el margen es 3% sobre el 1-year Treasury. Si el 1-year Treasury está a 4%, quiere decir que el interés va a ser 7. 4 más 3 es 7. Si el interés baja al 2%, quiere decir que el interés va a ser 5. 2 más 3, el 3 se queda fijo siempre. So if you have an adjustable rate and the margin is going to be fixed, and we say the margin is 3%, and it's based on the 1-year Treasury, let's say, the 3% is always going to be that margin. That's never going to change. What's going to change is going to be the index. So if the 1-year Treasury is at 4%, then your rate is going to be 7%. So 4 plus 3 is 7. If the 1-year Treasury drops to 2%, then your rate would drop to 5% because it's 2 plus 3 is 5. Okay. We offer adjustable rates. We're seeing it a lot more now because typically the adjustable rates are a little bit lower than the 30-year rates. And we're in a rate environment that the industry foresees that rates will drop in the next 3 years or so. Obviously, nobody has a crystal ball, but that's what we see based on market data. So now's a good time to have an adjustable rate because we can refinance it in a few years if rates drop. Okay. Ahora se está viendo más el préstamo con un interés ajustable porque los intereses ajustables típicamente son un poquito más bajitos que los intereses fijos de 30 años, no siempre, pero en algunos casos. Y el mercado indica que los intereses posiblemente vayan a bajar en los próximos 3 años. Eso es un tiempo bueno para tener un interés ajustable para que el cliente pueda calificar hoy, pero que lo podamos refinanciar en el futuro. Okay, underwriting. Underwriting is going to look at 4 things: income, property, assets, credit. Income is easy. How much do you make? Okay. We're going to look at, if you're a W-2 employee, we're going to look at how much have you made over the last 2 years. There's a lot of variables that go into income that we look at. Are you a salaried employee? Do you make overtime? Do you have bonuses? Do you have restricted stock units? Do you get paid on auto allowance? We have to factor in all those things, and we have to factor in what is the likelihood that they will continue. If you have an auto allowance, but you just started getting it 2 months ago, we're not going to use it. If you have an auto allowance and you've had it for 2 years, we will use it. El ingreso es simple, pero puede ser complicado a la misma vez. El ingreso vamos a determinarlo en base de los últimos 2 años. Si es una persona que tiene un salario fijo, vamos a usar ese salario fijo. Aunque haya subido o cambiado en los últimos 2 años, vamos a usar el salario fijo porque sabemos que es garantizado siempre y cuando sigan trabajando ahí. Pero si tienen un ingreso variable, si tienen sobretiempo, si tienen bonuses, si tienen un, how do you say auto allowance in Spanish? Un ingreso adicional para ayudarlos a cubrir gastos como carros o deducción o todo lo demás. Entonces, eso lo tenemos que considerar por 2 años. ¿Ok? Voy a hacer un punto aquí bastante importante porque creo que las puede ayudar a ustedes en cuando están hablando con los clientes en este sector de home healthcare. Hay muchos enfermeros que viajan. Esos enfermeros típicamente reciben un allowance mensual para su gasto de vivienda y para sus carros. ¿Ok? Si podemos comprobar que ellos han tenido ese ingreso más de 1 año consistente, típicamente 2 años, pero si podemos enseñar más de 1 año y tienen un contrato por un periodo de tiempo en el futuro, podemos calcular el ingreso y usar ese monto. Okay, so I'm going to say something. We're talking about the home healthcare industry, the healthcare industry. If you ever meet with a traveling nurses a lot of times have additional income on their pay stub, which is a housing allowance and sometimes an auto allowance or meals allowance. That's important because if we can show that they've received it for at least a year and they have a contract to receive it for the next 6 months or the next year or whatever, so we can show a historical, we can actually use that income. And that's a very important part because that's additional to their base income. Okay. I'm going to skip property for a second. I'm going to go to assets. Assets, how much money do you have in the account? How much money do you have today? Assets, we're going to look at your retirement accounts, your checking, your savings, your investment portfolio, and are you receiving a gift? Do you have a parent, a family member, a friend that is giving you a gift that is part of your assets? Okay. Assets do need to be documented for 60 days. We need to see 2 months of bank statements. Okay. Voy a pasar lo de propiedad un momentico y voy a entrar en lo de assets. Los assets son las cuentas bancarias. So, ¿cuánto dinero tienen en su cuenta de cheque, su cuenta de ahorro, sus cuentas de retiros, su cuenta de inversión? Y si tienen algún regalo que van a recibir, a lo mejor un padre, un hijo, un hermano, un primo, un amigo, le va a regalar dinero en la transacción para que ustedes puedan comprar, nosotros tenemos que considerar eso. Siempre vamos a necesitar un mínimo de 60 días para comprobar esos documentos y eso es por razones de cumplimiento. So the 60 days is a requirement for compliance purposes, money laundering purposes. We just got to see where the money's coming from. Okay. With gifts, con regalos, there is not necessarily a limit as to how much you can obtain as a gift. So you could get a gift from your mom and she's giving you $100,000 to buy the house. Phenomenal, right? There's no restriction as long as we can document the relationship and we can document the money. Con las cartas de regalo no hay un límite de lo que un comprador puede recibir. Si tienen una mamá que le quiere dar $100,000 para la compra de la transacción de su casa principal, lo pueden hacer sin problema, siempre y cuando se pueda documentar la relación y los fondos de dónde vinieron. Okay. Credit, we've talked about this already. Credit, we're going to look at your credit history. How have you repaid your debt? Do you have charge-offs? Do you have collections? Do you have late payments? Do you have delinquencies? If somebody has late payments on a mortgage, it's very difficult to get them financed on a mortgage. If they have late payments in the last 12 months, if they had a forbearance, if they had a modification of mortgage, if they had a bankruptcy, if they had a foreclosure, those are all things that we can get through, but they're challenging. So we need to know about them as early as we can. Because again, those things are just time. Okay. Con el crédito, como hablamos ahorita, nosotros vamos a revisar el historial de crédito. Queremos ver cómo han manejado su crédito, si han pagado sus cuentas a tiempo, si tienen pagos tardes en una hipoteca, un ejemplo, eso puede disminuir la posibilidad de obtener un préstamo hipotecario. Si tienen bancarrota, foreclosures, forbearances, algo así, eso puede impactar el tiempo en cuanto ellas puedan comprar otra vez. Por eso es importante que cuando tenga un comprador, podemos revisarle esta información lo antes posible, porque si es tiempo, podemos empezar el proceso de tiempo hoy. Pero si ellos no saben o no se dan de cuenta, entonces no podemos arreglar cosas que se demoran tiempo. Okay? Credit is very important to know about as early as possible, because if something requires time, the earlier we know about it, the earlier we can start preparing that borrower and helping them fix and just waiting that time period. All right, now I'm going to go back to property. Anybody want to guess why I left property for last? ¿Alguien quiere adivinar por qué dejé property para último? All right. Property. What are you trying to buy? Are you buying a single family? Are you buying a multifamily, a townhouse, or a condo? Single, multi, and townhouses are all lot and block. That means that the buyer is responsible for their property taxes, for their homeowner's insurance, for their roof repairs, for their windows, for their doors, for their everything. Condos are not lot and block. That means you have an association that is responsible for getting insurance, for repairing the roof, the doors, the exterior, the driveways, the elevators, and the list goes on and on. Okay. Los tipos de propiedades son casas multifamiliares de 1 a 4 unidades, duplexes, townhouses y condominio. Las casas, los townhouses y los multifamiliares son considerados lote y bloque. Quiere decir que el comprador es responsable por su seguro de casa, su techo, sus paredes, su driveway, su landscaping, su piscina, todo. En un condominio, el comprador no es dueño del terreno específico donde están comprando. Tienen una porción de ownership de toda la asociación, del terreno de toda la asociación. Y la asociación está responsable por arreglar los techos, tener el seguro, mantener la piscina, el mantenimiento general de la propiedad. ¿Okay?
Las zonas comunes, todo.
Las áreas comunes, the common areas, landscaping, painting of the exterior, pintar el exterior, hacer un driveway nuevo, el parqueo, el parking lot nuevo, todo eso es responsabilidad de la asociación. Okay? Why do I bring this up? It is 100 times easier to finance a lot and block than it is to finance a condo, simply because the lot and block is focused on this particular property that either has issues or it doesn't. It either needs a new roof or new windows or has a cracked structure or it doesn't. With a condominium, it's much more complicated. With a condominium, let me translate. Es 100 veces más simple financiar una propiedad que sea lote y bloque, porque o va a calificar la propiedad o no en base a la propiedad en sí. Si tiene problema estructural, techo, un crack en el driveway y lo demás, entonces a lo mejor no se puede financiar tradicionalmente la propiedad, pero depende solamente en esa propiedad, en esa casa. Un condominio tiene mucho más cosas que nosotros tenemos que verificar cuando se haga el proceso. Y esto es bien importante para que un primer comprador lo entienda. It's very important for a first-time buyer to understand. With a condominium, we're going to ask for a condo questionnaire. That condo questionnaire is going to indicate to us, are there any past due accounts? How many investors are in the building? Are there any structural issues? Are there any legal issues? Are they collecting reserves? Do they have a separate reserve account? All of these are factors that the lender is going to utilize to determine if they will finance a unit in that building or not. Because if Fannie Mae will not buy that loan and FHA will not guarantee that loan, the lender's not going to do it most times. Okay? Con un condominio, el banco, el prestamista va a pedir un cuestionario de la asociación y ese cuestionario va a indicar si hay muchos inversionistas en el edificio, si hay cuentas pasadas, mantenimiento, asociación, colección de mantenimiento pasado en el edificio, si hay algún problema estructural, si hay un problema legal, si el edificio tiene reserva o no, si el edificio está asegurado adecuadamente o no, if the building is insured properly or not. Okay? Eso va a determinar si ese edificio se puede financiar de manera Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac o FHA, o si no se puede financiar de esa manera. Okay? So why am I taking a little bit more time on this? Because it's important. A lot of first-time home buyers are limited by their income, by their credit, by their down payment. So if you have a first-time home buyer in South Florida that's looking at a $300,000 property, most likely they're looking at a condominium. Anything under $300,000, most likely they're looking at a condominium. So when you have these types of properties, these types of buyers, you especially want to make sure that you're working with me to see if we can give you a list of properties that are already approved, Fannie Mae, FHA, VA, okay? Because that's going to give you an extra oomph for your buyers because you're looking out for their best interest. Si tienen muchos compradores principales que están buscando casas de $300,000 o menos, están en la zona de condominio. La razón que esto es tan importante es porque si ustedes saben que su cliente está en una zona de condominio, deberían de considerar eso y hablar conmigo directamente para nosotros poder trabajar juntos a ver si hay una lista de condominios aprobados que yo le pueda proveer para que ustedes puedan enfocar sus esfuerzos en eso y ayudar a sus compradores a encontrar algo en esa zona. Okay? Also, another important thing is if you guys find a buyer, you find a condominium for a buyer, and we can finance that condominium for that buyer. So Marlene has a client right now that we're working with that is buying a condominium, Fannie Mae, and it's a full review. So that means we have approved this condo association. Once you all know that, you should share that with each other. Because now if I have a buyer that's looking for $300,000 or less, and I know they're looking for a condo, I already know this association just got approved recently. So now if something else comes up, we're going to jump on it. Okay? Si tienen un comprador que recientemente obtuvo un préstamo Fannie Mae o FHA en un condominio, deberían compartir esa información con los otros agentes porque ya saben que encontraron un condominio que fue aprobado, So Marlene ahora tiene un cliente que está comprando un condominio y el condominio es una asociación aprobada Fannie Mae. Ya saben que esa asociación está aprobada. Si viene otra unidad, se hace disponible para la venta, ya ustedes pueden inmediatamente estar al tanto que se hizo, que esa unidad está disponible. Ustedes tienen en sus sistemas que le provee Canvas una forma de hacer una notificación si se hace disponible una propiedad en cierta área, ¿verdad? It should be in your, Joel? You guys should have access in the systems that you're provided, like the MLS and all of that kind of stuff, to set up like an alert on a specific association or a specific zone or area.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you guys take that information and you know this condo building is approved, put that in your system. Anytime a new property comes up for sale, you're going to get a notification. Okay. Si ustedes ponen esa información, what's that system called? What's
The
the
MLS auto notification.
Ok, en el MLS, si ustedes ponen la notificación a la vez que sepan que un edificio está aprobado, que financiamos recientemente, ustedes ponen una notificación en el MLS, van a recibir notificaciones cada vez que se aparezca un listado nuevo en ese edificio.
It's a great idea. Tremenda idea.
All right? If you're looking at condos, we need to have a conversation. You guys need to talk to Joel. You need to talk to Marlene. You need to talk to each other and be familiar with what condos have been approved recently. Si están buscando condominio, tienen que tener la conversación conmigo, con Joel, con Marlene, para ver qué condominio ha sido aprobado recientemente. Este es el detalle, creo que más importante que yo les puedo proveer a ustedes hoy día para sus clientes que están buscando $300,000 o menos.
Pero generalmente ustedes tienen esos listados, ¿no?
Sí, pero no siempre,
No al día, no tan reciente.
es más recién cuando sabemos que yo hoy financié esta propiedad, eso es más fresco. Las listas esas a veces dicen, bueno, financiamos uno hace 6 meses, pero ya ¿qué pasó hace 6 meses? Cambió el año, quiere decir que tenemos un budget nuevo, o a lo mejor tenemos un board nuevo, pueden haber cambiado ciertas cosas. A lo mejor se venció el seguro, so hay que ver ciertas cosas, okay? So, great question from Rosa here, which is, yes, we have access to lists on condo approvals, but when we know that a property was recently financed using a Fannie or FHA loan, that's fresh versus a list from 6 months ago that maybe the budget is no longer accurate, maybe the insurance expired and didn't renew for the right amount, maybe the board changed, a lot of factors that could impact it. So something that closed yesterday is going to be much better than something that closed 6 months ago. Any questions before I proceed on income, property, assets, credit? ¿Alguna pregunta?
No.
That when the assets, when it's a gift
Mhm.
and it could be up to $100,000 or more whatever
Right.
from a gift, do they go into the gifter's information as well?
The grantor, the question, la pregunta es, si alguien está dando un regalo, ¿qué información necesitamos de la persona que está dando el regalo? So, if somebody's giving a gift, what information do we need from that person? We need a gift letter, so that person is signing a document saying, I am gifting this money, not lending the money, okay? I'm gifting this money to so-and-so. So, lo primero que se necesita una carta indicando que esa persona le está dando un regalo a la otra persona, no es un préstamo, no se tiene que repagar, es un regalo. And the second thing we need generally is 2 months bank statements of their bank statements. So, típicamente necesitamos los últimos 2 estados de cuentas de ellos para ver de dónde viene ese dinero. Okay?
Okay.
Appraisal. Appraisal is something that we as the lender order. We don't know who the appraiser is. We hire an appraisal management company, and they basically send out a bid to the appraisers. The appraisal provides us they determine value. And as I've told you before, the appraiser is an opinion of value from an independent appraisal. They provide us the details of the home, the details of the market. Appraisals can come back as is, meaning nothing needs to change, or subject to, meaning, hey, this property is worth $400,000, subject to them fixing the roof, or them the front door doesn't lock. They got to make sure the front door locks. or the utilities weren't on at the time of inspection, so I need to go back and make sure the utilities work. Okay. El proceso del appraisal o de evaluación, ese proceso que determina el valor de la propiedad. Recuerden que esa es la opinión de un evaluador independiente. El evalúo nos da información de los detalles de la casa y el mercado actual donde está localizada la casa. El evalúo puede venir lo que se dice as is, quiere decir que no hay que hacer ningún cambio, o puede venir en lo que se dice subject to, es decir, que hay que arreglar algo antes que el banco pueda aceptar ese evalúo. Lo más común que nosotros vemos es cuando el avalúo. Perdón, gracias. Aquí tengo mi traductora. Ya voy a decir trasladora. El avalúo nos indica si lo más común que vemos en el avalúo es que las utilidades no están encendidas. A lo mejor no hay agua, no hay electricidad. El appraiser va a salir y va a inspectar la casa, pero va a decir, necesito regresar para asegurarme que el agua y que la electricidad y todo lo demás funcione. Okay. Appraisers can take, this says 2 weeks to 30 days. It's like a week to 3 weeks. Okay. If the value supports the purchase price, the lender will accept it. If the value is less than the purchase price, then the buyer needs to determine if they can make up the difference or not, and if they want to make up the difference or not, or if they want to negotiate the difference. Okay. Si el evalúo típicamente se demora 1 a 3 semanas y el lender, el banco, determina si el valor soporta el precio de compra o no. Si no es suficiente, el comprador tiene que tomar la determinación o si va a poner los fondos adicionales porque los tiene, o a lo mejor intentar de negociar con el vendedor, reducir el precio o salirse del contrato. Okay. What happens if your purchase price is higher than the appraisal? I just explained that. Okay, so ¿qué pasa si el precio de compra es más alto que el avalúo? El banco no va a financiar en base del precio de compra. El banco va a financiar en base de el más bajo de los dos, sea el precio de compra o sea el avalúo. Si el precio de compra es $500,000 y el avalúo viene a 480, el banco se va a enfocar en 480. Viceversa, el precio de compra es a 500, si el avalúo viene a 520, perfecto, el banco se va a enfocar en los 500,000. Okay? So the lender is always going to focus on the lower of the purchase price or the appraised value. If the purchase price is $500,000 and the appraised value comes in at 480, we're going to use a value of 480. The purchase price is $500,000 and the appraised value comes in at 520, we're going to go with the 500,000. Okay, always the lower of the two. You cannot change the purchase contract after the appraisal comes in to adjust for a higher price. That won't be accepted. Okay, no se puede cambiar el contrato de compra después que regrese el evalúo por un precio más alto si el evalúo vino más alto. Can't do it. Okay, el avalúo indica el precio del contrato el día del avalúo. Indica el valor que ellos piensan. Okay, so the appraisal indicates the purchase price based on the contract and then their opinion of value. Okay. Okay. Typically, it takes 30 to 45 days for a clear to close. I always ask that you put 30 days financing contingency on your contracts. If we are putting less than 30 days on there, let's talk about it before we submit that contract.
40 days after the purchase.
Yeah, 45 ya es un préstamo más complicado, but so you know, if you guys have a contract that you're submitting and you say, Alex, I need a clear to close in 3 weeks, 21 days in order to get this contract, if not, we're not going to get it, that's fine. We could work with that. But we need to talk about it beforehand. Okay? Si usted, un préstamo para aprobarse para cerrar, típicamente se demora 30 a 45 días. Es 30 días. Si ustedes necesitan menos de 30 días en un contrato para ganar ese contrato, hablemos de eso antes que sometan el contrato, porque es bien dependiente del cliente, el comprador.
Una compra cash.
Si el comprador me ha estado dando toda la información que necesita inmediatamente, si el file de ellos es simple, si ganan un salario fijo o sobre tiempo, whatever, tienen el down payment, tienen el crédito bueno, eso es una transacción simple, sí, lo podemos hacer en 21 días. Pero hay cosas que complican el contrato. Si es un condominio, por ejemplo, 21 días es bien difícil hacerlo, porque no es en base de nosotros solamente. Tenemos que depender de la asociación. ¿Ok? Pero tengamos una conversación siempre antes que sometan el contrato. No me pongan contra la pared porque no me gusta quedar mal. Yeah.
Una idea, Alex, es que pueden poner en el contrato el loan approval 21 días o 25 días, y aunque el cierre no se complete en ese tiempo, pero que tener tiempo para cerrar. Es una manera de poder negociar.
Right.
Translated in
So Joel's saying that an option is you can put on the financing portion of the contract 21 days or 25 days for financing approval, but still have a 30-day closing period, a 35-day closing period, or whatever. That's absolutely true if it's going to win you the negotiation. Again, it's just something we got to talk about. So why am I so clear with this? Remember, the financing contingency is the second piece of that contract that I told you guys that the borrower can get their money back. The buyer can get their money back. I, as a loan officer, never want to be responsible for your buyer not being able to get their escrow money back. So I'm not comfortable telling you guys as agents, yeah, we're good to go until I have a clear to close. Because I've seen too many transactions fall apart that I have saved from another loan officer after they said it was okay and it wasn't. So I'm very good about if we do not have a clear to close, I'm calling you guys and saying, let's get an extension on that financing approval, period. Let's just ask for it, okay? Yo soy bien estricto con esto, no quiero decir estricto porque no es una palabra buena, pero yo soy bien detallado en esto porque yo he salvado muchos préstamos de otros oficiales de préstamos que han fallado después de haberle dicho a un cliente que estaban aprobados y había una condición que no se había completado todavía. Entonces para mí, si no tenemos un clear to close en el momento de que se termine el financing contingency, picture moment. Si yo no tengo el clear to close, yo los voy a llamar a ustedes y les voy a pedir que pidan un financing contingency extension. ¿Ok? Porque yo nunca quiero ser responsable que el cliente pierda su depósito. So, si no lo podemos completar a tiempo por razones fuera de mi control, vamos a pedir una extensión. Okay? It's very important, guys. A lot of loan officers do not do this. A lot of realtors do not do this. I have saved a lot of clients from losing their money because I have asked for the extension. It's a simple thing to ask for. And in most cases, we can explain and justify why we're asking for it. But you're protecting your buyer's interest by doing that. Okay? So es bien importante porque están protegiendo el interés de su comprador. Si no tienen el clear close, si piden esa extensión de financiamiento. Okay? Once we have a clear to close, you have a closing disclosure that is sent out and needs to be signed 3 days prior to closing. I think your phone is on, Marlene. I just heard somebody in your office.
Yeah, I'm on,
Oh.
I'm on conference.
Sorry.
But
Eh,
I have to picture that.
A la vez que tengamos la aprobación, el comprador tiene que firmar el disclosure de cierre que tiene todos los números casi finalizados y eso se tiene que firmar 3 días antes del cierre. Eso es una regulación. Okay? The closing date impacts the final costs. El día del cierre impacta los costos finales. Why? Because of what I said earlier. Prepaid interest, prepaid taxes, prepaid, a lot of prepaids are going to impact the final amount. Not by a lot of money, but it's going to impact the final amount. Sure. Let me translate and then I'll elaborate. El día del cierre va a impactar los gastos finales. Si yo le digo a un comprador, vamos a cerrar el día 14, y la compañía de título no está ready hasta el día 17, los números van a cambiar. ¿Por qué? Porque hay gastos de interés diario, hay gastos de impuestos, prepagos de impuestos que van a cambiar en base del día de cierre. So when you close any loan, you have prepaid. So a mortgage is always paid in arrears. So when you make your payment June 1st, you're paying for May, for the month of May. Okay? But if we close on April 20th, you're going to prepay from April 20th through April 30th. And then your first mortgage payment is going to be due June 1st. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So June, you're going to pay for May, but you got to prepay for the days in April. So if you close on the 10th or you close on the 15th, that's a difference of 5 days of interest that is going to change the amount. So el pago de hipoteca siempre se hace el mes después. So el 1 de junio se está pagando por el mes de mayo. La única vez que se paga el interés antes es al cierre. Si nosotros cerramos abril 15, estamos haciendo el prepago de interés del 15 de abril hasta el 30 de abril. Y el primer pago se va a hacer el 1 de junio por el mes de mayo. So, la diferencia entre cerrar el abril 10 y abril 15 son 5 días de interés. So, eso va a cambiar el monto final del cierre. Okay. Questions. Aquí tienen de nuevo mi información de contacto. Aquí tienen mi QR code que lo pueden escanear y pueden bajar mi información. If you scan the QR code, it should pop up my website and you can download my contact information directly to your phone. But this is a time for questions. If you have any questions, guys, before the questions, I just want to repeat again, we have a first-time home buyer seminar this Saturday, and it will be repeated 3 more times this year. And I will present a much more condensed version of this presentation because I only have about 15 to 20 minutes, but we will be having a first-time home buyer seminar. So please be here. Please bring your buyers, first-time home buyers, or make sure that they're looking at this online live. Esta presentación lo voy a hacer mucho más breve el sábado. Solamente voy a tener 15 minutos. So, mucho más breve va a ser la presentación, pero va a ser el sábado y se va a repetir 3 veces este año. So, por favor, si están trabajando con compradores de primera vez, asegúrense que se registren para la presentación este sábado de 9:30 al mediodía. Vamos a estar aquí en persona y creo que también lo vamos a tener en Zoom. También va a estar en Zoom Live, ¿ok? So, por favor, ahora si tienen algunas preguntas, tenemos como unos 15 minutos más. Cualquier pregunta que tenga, por favor, aquí estoy para contestar. Any questions you guys have? Happy to answer.
Put the first screen here.
You want me to put the Zoom screen? Oh,
Your PowerPoint.
My PowerPoint, yeah.
Okay, that was a great presentation. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
We're already getting people that are confirming to attend this Saturday. And we'll be sending to those people that register a confirmation email back to
Okay.
them. With the postcard and the address of the office, so they do not get lost coming here. Okay, I don't know if this was brought up or not because I was in and out.
Okay.
Other than these different types of programs, are there any down payment assistance programs that are available out there that are worth it? I want
Yeah.
to hear your honest opinion.
So the question is, are there any down payment assistance programs that are out there that are worth it?
I like that smile.
That's a great question.
That was a great smile after
After a thought.
after this question that I just
Yeah.
posed.
So this is my personal and professional opinion. The best program out there, you've heard me say it 100 times and I'll keep saying it, is Hometown Heroes. I think it's just a phenomenal program. The problem when you base yourself on Hometown Heroes and then you have all these other down payment assistance programs is that they look subpar compared to Hometown Heroes. Now, Hometown Heroes is only for 90-something types of occupations, right? So the buyer that is a laborer, that drives a garbage truck, or that works at Publix or whatever, is not a hometown hero. So for those types of people, there are down payment assistance programs. They have, like I mentioned before, much stricter guidelines, typically $10,000 limit for the most part. Some counties, some cities provide down payment assistance programs and grants. The challenge with those is getting the information, okay? Most of those programs are programs that the buyer or you as the realtor kind of have to dig and navigate through the different types of programs and try to figure out what you need in order to qualify, or what your buyer needs in order to qualify. And we don't have access to all those different types of programs. But of course, there are a lot of programs out there. My only caution is with any type of down payment assistance program, there's going to be really thorough information that we need to look through to make sure that your buyer is going to qualify for it and that they ultimately benefit for it. Because if I tell you, I could get your buyer $10,000, but their DTI cannot exceed 36%, that's going to be a difference between that buyer being able to buy a $200,000 place or a $400,000 place, right? So getting $10,000 to buy a $200,000 place doesn't help them. We need the $400,000. They got to come up with a difference instead of using a down payment assistance program. Okay. So la pregunta de Marlene era si hay otros programas buenos de asistencia de down payment fuera de lo que ya mencioné. Como ya les mencioné, el principal y el más obvio y el que más me gusta a mí es el Hometown Heroes, porque de verdad que es miles de veces mejor que todos los demás. Pero para las personas que no califican por esos programas, sí hay programas en varios condados, en varias ciudades, que lenders ofrecen también de down payment assistance. Las cosas que hay que considerar con esos programas es que cada cual tiene sus restricciones, tiene sus cargos y tiene sus limitaciones. So, si tienen un comprador que, si un programa, un ejemplo, hay uno que estoy pensando que limita el ingreso a 36%. Si tienen ese límite de 36%, ese puede ser la diferencia entre un comprador calificar solamente por $200,000 contra calificar por $400,000. Si necesitan los $10,000 para entrada, esa es la única opción que tienen. Pero si pueden obtener el dinero o esperar un poquito de tiempo y reunir ese dinero, van a calificar por más en base de no usar esa asistencia. Cada caso es particular e individual. Sí hay programas, hay condados que ofrecen programas, hay ciudades que ofrecen programas. Tienen que identificar, depende del condado o la ciudad, el comprador, y ustedes como realtor tienen que mirar, dependiendo del local donde ellos estén buscando, a ver qué programas existen, porque hay muchos pasos que tomar. Yo, por supuesto, estoy aquí para asistirlos. Desafortunadamente, yo no tengo acceso a todos los programas. So, tenemos que ver cuáles tenemos acceso y cuáles no, y cuáles no tenemos que tener aprobación para poder usar. Okay? So I don't have access to all those programs, obviously. There's some that we do, there's some that we don't, there's some that we don't need approval for. I'm always here to help you guys and guide you, even if it's not a loan that's going to come through me. If I can help you guys complete information, I will. That's what I'm here for. I always tell you guys, I'm here as your resource. I want to be available to you guys and help you guys grow your business. Okay? Thank you. Great question, Marlene.
Great. Now, these down payment assistance programs, I hear that they vary from county to county, correct?
Yep.
Have you had experience one county versus the other?
Yeah, so the question is, hay diferentes programas en base de condado y que si yo tengo experiencia dependiendo de los condados. Yeah, they vary county to county, sometimes city to city, and obviously by state as well. Miami-Dade County is the hardest one to get down payment assistance programs for. There are a few that work specifically in Miami-Dade County, but the down payment assistance programs that are more like nationwide or statewide are very cautious in South Florida because, again, most of the properties here are condos, and then a lot of them are in flood zones. Okay, so those two things are big impacts. So, en el condado de Miami-Dade es más difícil obtener los programas que son nacionales porque estamos en una zona que hay muchos condominios y en muchas zonas estamos en zonas de inundación. So for those two things, the Miami-Dade County programs are a little bit more difficult. Broward County has some great programs. And not only the county itself has great programs, but there's other programs for the state of Florida that function very well in Broward that do not work in Miami-Dade County. So hay muchos programas que ofrecen otros condados o el estado que funcionan muy bien en el condado de Broward, pero que no funcionan en Miami-Dade County. So hay, pero de nuevo, los programas de down payment assistance son bien específicos al comprador. Down payment assistance programs are very specific to the buyer. So this is part of the, let's sit down, let's review the financials, let's review what we need and what category we can put them into if there is a bucket for them.
Right. Now, I recently had experience with one program being offered by the city of Miramar, interesting enough. Okay, but then at the end, there was something in the association. I don't recall if it was because it didn't have full reserves. And they were denied the loan because the down payment assistance didn't kick in.
Right.
And again, the amount was like 35,000. It was a big amount.
Right, right.
And the lender at the time, which was obviously not Vista Prime Loans, I don't think knew how to structure the deal for underwriting because they would not give that buyer the full credit of the down payment assistance program.
Okay.
Okay,
Yeah.
so
And that's
tricky.
that it is tricky. There are anytime we're dealing with, as a lender, as a loan officer, we're dealing with a separate entity, whether it's a down payment assistance, whether it's a home equity line of credit, for example, to buy a condominium as a second loan to be under the 75% loan to value, right? Anytime we're working with a separate entity, there's going to be challenges. There's going to be things we need to be aware of. If I don't know all the details of the program, I am definitely at a disadvantage. And that's one of the things that I'm going to tell you guys from the front end. I don't know enough about this program to tell you the ins and outs. I'm going to do my best. I'm going to find out everything. But those are things that are always a point of caution, a point of reference. And these programs vary so much by city to city and county to county that we prefer to work with the main programs that are consistent. But a lot of times, you know, Miami-Dade has one now too that's supposed to be pretty big, but it's just, there's very limited access to information. And a lot of times that's what happens when a county or a city presents a program. It's the government saying, hey, we're going to do this, the local government saying we're going to do this, but it's very hard to get information. So there's a lot of digging that needs to be done to become an expert in that program.
Does the lender need to be qualified as a vendor
In some cases, yes.
in some cases?
In some cases, the lender needs to be approved to be able to offer the program. Okay. And not in all cases, but in some cases. And that does not necessarily mean Vista Prime has to be authorized. It means one of the lenders that we use, one of the partner lenders that we use,
Mhm.
can be authorized.
Right.
So that's an option.
Okay, another question for you. Okay, down here in South Florida, we're an entrepreneurial community.
Right.
A lot of people have their own businesses, so obviously they get 1099s,
Mhm.
if anything. What do you recommend for a couple that both of them are 1099 employees as far as financing is concerned? There he goes with that smile again.
So we're obviously addressing the South Florida community.
Yes.
More directly, we're addressing the Miami community. And a lot of what we see in Miami and South Florida are, how can I minimize my taxes? Okay.
Yeah.
Whenever we are looking at financing, we're looking at historicals, right? We can't foresee the future. We're looking at last 2 years tax returns. We're looking at last 2 months bank statements, right? If your tax returns do not support a certain amount of income, you're not going to qualify for an FHA loan. You're not going to qualify for a conventional loan. There are options. So I have a client right now that makes over $120,000 a year, but reports essentially zero income at the end of the year because she has a lot of losses. We can do a loan for her based on bank statements. We can look at her last 12 months business bank statements and do based on that. Now, they're not going to qualify for down payment assistance. They're not going to qualify for 3.5% down. They're not going to qualify for any of those programs. This is an entrepreneur. They got to have 10% down in most cases or more. But there are options. Okay. Now, what's my advice to the 1099 couple? Report enough income and pay your taxes so that we can qualify you for an FHA conventional loan in the near future. Now, this is tax season right now. It's April 13th, April 12th, April 13th today? April 12th. My watch is correct for once. It's April 12th. If you have clients that are thinking of buying that have not filed their tax returns yet, and they're self-employed borrowers or buyers, they can file for extension. We can work with them and show them what we need in order to qualify them for a house or how much money they need to be making. And then they can have that conversation with their accountant and prepare their taxes accordingly. Okay, so they're still in time for that. Because if you file an extension today, you're good through October 15th. So you need to work with a good accountant. You need to work with me in order to make sure that we're getting the right amount of money reported. But you have to pay taxes to the IRS. What's the exception? This is one that I love, and I'm going to go off topic here for a second. If you are a real estate investor, so this is why you all should be working with real estate investors. If you are a real estate investor and you are depreciating your properties and you are doing accelerated depreciation on your properties, that is an accounting loss that you need to discuss with your accountant, but it is not an income loss. So if you make $120,000 a year, but you bought a property last year and you depreciated $200,000 of that property, your tax return is going to show zero income. But I am going to add that depreciation back because that is an accounting loss, just like mileage is, okay? Just like any type of depreciation, any other type of depreciation. If you bought furniture and you depreciated the asset, that is an accounting loss. You have to have a great CPA if you're a business owner and you want to buy a house. You can't do TurboTax. You can't do something like that. You have to have a great CPA that understands the business market. Okay.
I have dubbed that situation, you either pay Peter or you pay Paul.
Mhm.
Peter being the government or Paul being
the
the
bank.
lenders.
Yep.
So that's the
All right.
Peter and Paul scenario.
But there are options if you guys have self-employed buyers that do not report enough income or maybe have a solid down payment. There's definitely options for those buyers.
So, now that you say depreciate, appreciate, et cetera, if someone sells a personal property and 2 investment properties,
Mhm.
and the income they generated from that, I'm calling it an income.
That's tricky.
That's tricky,
Yeah.
but it has to be reported.
But capital gains are tricky unless you can consistently show historically
Mhm.
that your income is based on capital gains.
Got it.
Same thing with like stock options, that kind of stuff, right? If
Right,
you
but with
have,
homestead, there's a cap. I think if it's a single person, the capital gains doesn't apply if it falls under 250.
Yeah, but
or
that's-
less.
that we're getting into an accounting topic that I'm not qualified to discuss.
Okay,
But if you are buying and selling investment properties and you can show that consistently on your tax returns for the last couple of years, we can use the income of your buy and sales
right.
because that is now a business. Just like, again, if you have a stock portfolio that generates $15,000 a month and you're a day trader, we can show that because that's even though it's capital gains, that's your income. We can show a consistency of it.
Okay.
But again, historically, if you sold one property last year and made $1 million, that doesn't matter. We can't use that as income unless you've done it consistently over 2 or 3 years.
Right, okay.
Okay.
And the last question, which I don't know if you're gonna like or not.
I
I asked you about it earlier today.
Okay,
the 30-year
Mm.
mortgage versus now supposedly 40-year mortgage.
I'm glad you asked that question, Marlene. Thank you for bringing that up. I hope Ernesto's not watching this video.
Can you repeat the question?
Yes, the question was the 30-year mortgage versus the 40-year mortgage that supposedly went out. FHA this week approved a 40-year mortgage. What is that 40-year mortgage for? 40-year mortgage is only an option for FHA modifications for people in need. So if you already had an FHA mortgage, maybe you've had it for 3 years, 5 years, 15 years, whatever, and you are at a point where maybe because of COVID, you lost income or whatever, and you can no longer afford to make your payments, instead of the bank foreclosing on that, basically FHA is saying we are now allowing modifications and they can extend up to 40 years. Okay. There is not an FHA option for 40 years for purchase. That does not currently exist. Could it happen? Yes, it could happen. Will it happen? We'll see. Really, the only purchase program of 40 years that I'm aware of is one for investors, where basically it's a 40-year loan, but the first 10 years is interest only, and then there's a 30-year repayment period. But that is not something for first-time home buyers. Now, will we see that? Possibly. I think because of the values going up, the way they've gone up and the way interest rates are, I think we may eventually see a 40-year option. But as of right now, as of April 12th at 12 p.m., 2023, there is no 40-year FHA option for purchase.
Or conventional.
Or VA or USDA or anything like that. The most is a 30-year amortization. Ladies and gentlemen, it is 12:01. I don't want to take anybody else's time. If anybody else has any other questions, because I know you all have to get back to doing what you're doing.
A comment.
Joel, yep.
Plug me in for Friday. Working with buyers. That's gonna be my subject training on the mastermind group coaching this Friday. from
Joel's
12:30 to 2.
Joel's mastermind coaching Friday from 12:30 to 2 will be working with buyers.
A segue to what you have just done.
So guys, if you're not talking to Joel, please get with him at some point. You guys have a great team here and a great resource here in Marlene, in Joel, myself, and all of the partners here. I know Title Logic is always here. If you guys have questions, please reach out to us. If you guys have challenges, please talk to us. All right. Everybody's in this together. And if you guys make money, we make money. And if we make money, you make money, because we grow together. So if you guys have questions, if you have challenges, if you have doubts, reach out, let us know. If I can't answer the question, I'll refer you to whoever it is. If you reach out to Marlene and it's a finance question, she'll refer you guys to us, so whatever you guys need, please let us know. We are all here to help. Again, check out Joel's mastermind Friday, 12:30 to 2. And then check out the first time home buyer seminar. It'll be Marlene will talk, I'll talk, Title Logic will be here. And you mentioned the
United Credit Education Services about restoring credit, improving your FICO score. How do you position yourself to qualify for a
So credit service company will be here to really help your first-time buyers restore their credit and better their credit. So again, we're all here. These are all the resources that we offer you guys. Canvas is here to offer you guys all these resources. Take advantage of them. You guys have a phenomenal team, and I'm glad to be a part of it. Thank you all. If you guys have any questions, feel free to give me a call, and I am happy to help.
Great, thank you. That was
Thank
a
you.
phenomenal class.
You're going back to Zoom? It's up there.
Oh,
Stop the recording.
okay, let me go ahead.
All right,
I can't
Sorry.
see.
Sorry.
Stop the recording.
All right, I'm gonna go ahead and stop the recording.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.